Now in every family there is the cool sibling, and in Subaru it is known as the STI. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now this week we kind of add youth to our broadcast, and what we're going to do is dive into the Subaru WRX STI edition, basically to kind of maybe lower my age. Now this is the 2015 edition, and they've added a few more enhancements, and we'll actually take a look and kind of break that down. Now we talked about the WRX STI edition. There's one big feature right off the bat when you talk about, and that is the rear spoiler. Now this is standing operating procedure, and really what it does is of course add to the exterior pizzazz with the body kit of course, but it also adds a little bit of downforce when you're hitting the high speeds. Now does it take a little bit getting used to for this old fogey of me? Of course, but for anybody that loves these four bangers, this is what you're looking for that exterior pizzazz. Now with any performance vehicle, you really need to start with the grip on the road, and the first thing you're going to note are these tires, the 245/40 R18s. Now these are sport, really going to take the grip, and when you couple that with this all-wheel drive Subaru, it really means you can grip to the road. Now the best thing about this vehicle is low to the ground, about 4.9 inches of ground clearance, and that's really magnified of course with that body kit down low. Now by the numbers, it's going to measure in about 180 inches with about 104-inch wheelbase. Now those numbers have actually slightly increased from last year, giving you just a little bit more room on the inside. But the best feature that separates this car from anything else on the road is the exterior pizzazz, the body kit, the front end pizzazz, and of course that scoop on the hood. Now new for 2015 is the front end, and especially those narrow headlights, giving it kind of a Raptor, very menacing look as it's going down the road. Now in between is that stereotypical Subaru hexagonal grille with the lower fascia down low on this STI, giving it that kind of low to the ground look. Now of course in the center of the hood is the most pronounced aspect, which is the air scoop, which really feeds that intercooler with plenty of air. Now the best feature up here is that they've lowered and kind of put that scoop deeper into the hood, giving you better forward visibility. Now when you look at the profile of the STI, this is really noticeable that separates it from the standard WRX. Now one thing you can do is go to the launch edition model, which is really going to give you more pronounced rims down here, a little bit better aspects. Now of course what I love is the fact that everything is chiseled on this STI model. Again, that lower fascia, all these chiseled lines, and you can't really miss out on that spoiler back there. Now does this package really appeal to everyone? Of course it does when you talk about the power under the hood. Now the one thing you're going to notice about the STI is there's no chrome to be found, really black inserts everywhere and a lot of glass, really minimizing blind spots. Now this particular model came with the old standard traditional key, but there is a kind of push start optional option on this vehicle, so it wouldn't hurt to upgrade. Now as you swing around, we don't talk about maybe cargo on a performance vehicle like this, but I like to talk about it. So we swing around. Obviously on this rear spoiler, one thing that's going to help is really easing this trunk up. You simply grab here, pull it, nice little handle, just a little oversized. Now once you look inside here, it's going to be pretty standard operating procedure, about 12 cubic feet. Now that's slightly increased from the last year because again this vehicle has gone up just a hair. Now what we found is it's very cavernous, holds plenty of items, even better for the young up-and-comers. You can put a lot of speakers back here to add some more bass. Now the one thing about the rear spoilers, it may kind of block your view as you're backing up, but they fixed that when you pop in reverse. Nice little camera back there gives you a good view when you're backing up. So obviously this spoiler won't become a problem. Now more is better of course, and what I'm talking about is quad pipes versus the old standard dual exhaust. Now when you add these to the back of this vehicle, it's going to give you a little bit more of that high pitched rumble you expect on a four banger, and even better, lets people know this again is performance oriented. Now the biggest thing you want to know on this Subaru WRX STI edition is what's under the hood. Now nothing's really changed here from last year, and maybe one of the biggest complaints people talk about, but really if you got it perfected, why change it? Now under the hood it is the standard 2.5 liter boxer engine, turbocharged of course. Now it's going to deliver last year's numbers, which was 305 horses and 290 foot-pounds of torque. Now as for 0 to 60, I didn't test it out, but the standard numbers they say is around about 5 seconds. Now the best feature, of course, is that's coupled with a 6-speed standard manual transmission, and the only way it comes. Now the manual transmission, what I found, of course, is it has those short throws, the standard performance you expect, and really turns this into a kind of rocket science like vehicle. Now the one thing you're going to notice for 2015, where they did put all the emphasis, is of course in the suspension. They've made it stiffer, a little bit more responsive, and really can corner a lot better. Now what that translates to is possibly a little more bounce on the road. Now this is to be expected, of course, because you got a little bit of a short wheelbase, and they really put the fact of handling on this vehicle. Now the STI does have Subaru Intelligent Driving, the SI drive system, which is controlled with a center knob right there between the driver and passenger. Now that is going to change the driving dynamics of this vehicle. Really, if you're going to use it as a commuter, you change it to that type of intelligent driving. If you want more sport, of course, you change it to that. And the advantages of that is the way the vehicle is going to work you. Everyday driving, you don't want to really kind of muscle it down the road. You'd rather cruise. Of course, if you want to hit the racetrack, dial it in and then stop the gas. Now when you're as old as I am, the first thing it takes some getting used to is kind of the sport seating, because again, they are kind of bolstered, hence the performance line that this vehicle is. Now when you look at the legroom numbers, they've increased slightly because again the length has gone up just a hair in this vehicle. Now by the numbers, about 43 inches up front, plenty for my 6-foot frame. In the back it's going to be about 35 inches, again right there on the cusp of really having just enough room. Now when you look around this vehicle, it really all relates around performance, and especially here with the gauges, because they are red in color, a lot of numbers, a lot of tack and speed and all that stuff wrapped in. And again, for a novice like me, you really just have to wrap your head around it. Now to get to the true race-inspired feel, they put a huge speed and tachometer right here on the dash. Now they are the standard red operating procedures you expect when you want to muscle this vehicle down the road. Now there's a little bit of information in between those gauges. Really when you go to set the center differential, where you can manually override that to kind of change the traction options on this vehicle. Now obviously they've made that tach so you can watch kind of the red line features, and if you notice, the speedometer really has it set on the 60 to 80 mile an hour range at 12 o'clock, because that's pretty much where you're going to try to keep this vehicle's speed at. Now on the steering wheel, you're going to find controls for the stereo and of course the Bluetooth option for your phone, so you can, you know, talk hands-free and listen to music that you can stream through the stereo. Now over on the other side is cruise control settings, and all this is going to allow you to kind of keep your eyes on the road as you're muscling it down. Now on the dash, you're going to find a little bit of a carbon fiber-like accents with the standard stereo front and center. Now there is a LCD touchscreen option that you can go for, but reviews out say it is somewhat cumbersome to use. Now down below on this particular model is dual climate controls, allowing the front passengers to kind of cool down to their own liking. Now those are controlled with the old standard 3 knobs. Now up high on the dash is a information screen, pretty much allowing you to see your performance firsthand, really kind of look at your fuel consumption and other various information that you can kind of look at on the fly. Now in this particular model, you do have heated seats up front, simply controlled right between the front driver and passenger. Now between the seats is also a deep console, has a little bit of the latest technologies like the USB connection and auxiliary jack with a power supply in there as well. Now we swing around to the back seat, you're going to notice those same sport seating like we have in the front, kind of like 4 niches overall, with a tiny little spot for a 5th occupant should they try to squeeze in. Now for the overall design, we kind of have a suede kind of leather combination. Now there's been a few complaints out there that it's really not the most luxurious offerings, but I think it's pretty much standard and really just fine. Now if you look at the back, the front seats, you're going to kind of notice this kind of arch. Now that's going to lend itself to a little bit more legroom and a little bit more comfort versus the old standard straight back. Now up here in the front, you're going to notice just a little bit of 2 cup holders, really just enough for the back seat passengers. Then they flip out of the way when you don't need them. Now one thing we don't think of when we talk about a sport sedan like this is really cargo options, but they really thought about it on this vehicle, making it somewhat easy to transition. All you have to do is pull this little lever here and they're going to tumble forward. Now the best feature is they do have headrests built in, but with the amount of space they have, they really fold in just fine without having to remove them or really having any aggravation to change this over to cargos. Now last but not least is the overall impression of a four-banger like this, and for an old guy like me, it really gives me just a slight youthful appearance and feel. Now what you're going to notice with any vehicle like this, and really with the Subaru, is it does have a little bit of road harshness, maybe a little bit of road noise on the inside, but overall this vehicle delivers the performance. Regardless that they didn't kind of increase the horsepower for 2015, really who cares? What they did do, of course, is stiffen this vehicle, make it a lot sharper on the curves, and still deliver one of the best performance vehicles in this segment, really with very little competition to note. Now that does it for this edition of Road Warrior and our test drive behind the wheel of the 2015 Subaru WRX STI. Now again, the biggest thing that is shining on this vehicle besides my bald head is that rear spoiler. Now this is a power enhanced compact sedan and really delivers the numbers on the hood straight from last year. So if you want to complain that nothing's really maybe been enhanced for this year, you must get behind the wheel, because again, the driving dynamics a little bit bouncy on the road, but really can corner and handle anything you throw at it. Now again, I'd like to thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior, and as always, keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.